All right, we're on.
Okay, in this video, I brought my friend James Wedmore in here to answer the very important question: what do I work on next in my business to hit my goals? When we talk to our audience and our clients, this is a question we get asked every single week. What is the next right thing that I should be working on right now? And a lot of times it's so much simpler than we want to make it. So I brought James to help me answer this question.
It's simple, but people aren't going to really like the answer at first because I can't answer it for you. What's the next right thing? I don't know. And there's two reasons. Number one, business growth happens in stages. So everyone listening here is at a different stage. So there isn't one universal answer for everybody. But number two is Nicole or myself don't have to be the ones that tell you that. What the next thing is, your numbers do. Until you are able to learn the language of numbers and interpret the data that it's telling you, you'll never know. And you could keep hopping from coach and mentor and them giving you their opinion and their advice, or you could learn what the language of numbers is telling you and you can go from there. So always the next step is what's going to help me grow my business. So I'm going to walk you through some cool stuff.
Wait, I'm going to interrupt you first because around this video you can actually download James's dashboard. Now this dashboard is super important because it basically helps you set your goals and put essentially your business plan down in one sheet. So James is going to walk you through an exercise here, but you're going to want to download that dashboard so you can put your business on one sheet of paper and make it so incredibly simple.
And when you do that properly, those numbers on that dashboard will tell you exactly what you need to be doing next. So it looks like this. If you're selling any type of digital product, coaching, membership, course, group coaching, whatever, you have the end result, right? You have sales or revenue here. And in order to make that happen, you're sending them to some sort of launch, promotion, or funnel. This is nothing new, but you're not just putting like a product link on your webpage, you're taking people through a process. So I'm gonna give an example of something here like a webinar. So when you understand the steps, that there are more than one steps, you're not just saying, here's my product, go buy it. You're putting people through a process or steps. We have to start looking at what is happening at every step. So if this were a webinar, just to give an example, and it doesn't have to be, it could be a challenge, it could be a video series launch, it could be a funnel, it could be something else entirely different, it doesn't matter. We have several steps here. We have a registration page, we have the Webby itself, and then we have like a sales page where you make the offer. You say, here's where you go buy it, okay? So what happens is people register for the webinar, they attend, and then they're made an offer, and they either buy or don't, and then you are left with sales. This makes pretty good sense. But to assume that everyone that's invited registers, and everyone that registers attends, and everyone who attends buys, is a massive incorrect assumption. So we have to understand those numbers. So you run that webinar, and let's say you have you invite 200 people. Actually, let's say you invite 500 people. I'm going to make this a little easier for me so I don't have to use a calculator too much. And then you have 100 people register. Okay, so 100 people register, and then 20 attend, and let's say 2 buy. Now, if this was a $997 program, we now have made $2,000. Okay, so we made 2K. So in order to know what's next, you have to know what you've done. And to know what you've done, you have to go and do a debrief and get your numbers. And so the smartest thing of what to do next was to say, do it again and do it better. In other words, make more money.
Well, I want to say something about this first, because the thing that you really helped instill with me and why this is so incredibly important, because when you don't have the data, you start to make up stories about what this meant. If you had a 5K goal and you only got to 2K and you don't know your data, then what happens? What do you start telling yourself? I'm not good enough. I stink.
I feel like it tanked. I feel like it was a total failure. And your feelings are going to be mirrored and matched by the stinking thinking, the itty bitty shitty committee that's in your mind that's saying that it wasn't any good. But the numbers tell you a little different story, right? So there's a metric here that we're going to pull out that is what we call the holy grail metric, and that's called the EPL. EPL is earnings per lead. Now, earnings per lead is earnings per divided by the number of leads. There's 100 people that register. That's $20. Okay. So I want you guys to see, this is like the decision tree that separates the successful from the struggling. if people say, well, what do I want to do next? The people that make the biggest mistakes are, I'm going to go do something completely different. I'm going to create another product. I'm going to try something like a challenge. I'm going to go in a completely different direction. And you start to get a little smarter when you say, I'm just going to rinse and repeat what I just did. I'm going to do it again. And then you say, now my goal is $4K. So my goal becomes $4,000. And so what does your strategy become? For most people, it says, well, I'll just get 200 people registered. If I double the amount of people coming in this thing, I'll double my sales. And yes, there is truth to that, but you're missing the easiest way to grow, which is understanding that at every single one of these points, there is a performance metric that's happening. Okay, right now we have a 20% conversion rate on your registration page. Okay, 20% of people visiting this page opt in. We have a 20% attendance rate here, and we have, I believe, a 10% registration rate happening here. So if you took the time instead to answer that question, what's next, of saying, what if I could increase all of these? Watch what happens. Let's say you're able to get this to 15%. Let's say you're able to get this to 30%, and let's say you're able to get this to 30%. Watch what happens with the same 500 people. 500 times, let me do it again, 500 times 0.3 gives us 150 times 0.3 attendance rates gives us 45 times 0.15 gives us 6.75. We'll round up to 7. The same amount of people increasing our performance metrics. We now went from 2 sales to 7 sales. 7 times, what was our price, $997, is now $7,000 versus the 2K. Now what gets really exciting is when you're able to increase the amount of people coming into your sales machine, and we take this to 1,000, we double the amount of people coming in, now we're at 14,000. So the answer to what do I do next is to analyze what happened last and get the data from the numbers and from the lowest performing metrics. That's where you spend your time and energy to increase. But then you tell me, James, I don't know what good guidelines are and I don't know what metrics to measure or look at, and that's exactly where the Digital CEO Dashboard comes in. I'm here to help you flush this out, because when you learn the language of numbers, even if this doesn't make any sense to you yet, it will. What you need to learn the language of numbers, and when you do, you'll know exactly what to do next every single time.
Okay, so James just mapped all of this out, but the important part is that instead of now going to the story of I suck, or I'm gonna go work on something else, you know exactly what you should be working on, and the digital dashboard will help you flush that out. So click the link around this video, download it, and we'll see you on the Rise of the Digital CEO.
That's right, and I'll have an entire training for you to show you how to fill that dashboard out for you. One page in your business that gives you all the metrics that matter, so you know exactly what to do next in order to grow.